Hey, what's up everyone, Lad here. Today we're going to go over the status elements in the game and the status effects that we can inflict into enemies. I'll briefly go over each status element and showcasing why sleep is the most broken status effect and why you should be utilizing more often. Let's get started. Let's start with the status element, Bleed. This symbol looks like claw marks. The status element scales with a unit's physical attack and the damage occurs at the end of the turn. The damage increases when the enemy's physical defense is debuffed, and also when the character inflicting bleed has their physical attack buffed, but only when that character is buffed before landing the bleed status. So for example, looking at Scarecrow, using his lacerating arrow for any buffs or debuffs, the enemy here takes 226 damage. Again, take note that buffing your physical attack after landing the bleed effect does not increase the bleed damage, as shown here, as once we buff the Lynette, the bleed damage is the same at 227. To increase our damage, this next showcase, we buff Lynette first, and then Scarecrow lands a bleed, increasing our damage to 294. Nextly, to further increase this damage, you can debuff the enemy's physical defense while the bleed status effect is still active to get higher damage, as shown here reveal as debuff. And then to mitigate bleeding damage, you want to stack higher physical defense. Alright, moving on. The next status effect is Poison. This symbol is characterized by 3 circles above one another. This functions the same as Bleed, but instead of it being physical based, it is now magic. The properties are pretty much the same. Poison scales with a unit's elemental attack, and damage is increased when enemy's elemental defense is debuffed, or your character's elemental attack is buffed before they land the poison. And to mitigate this damage onto your characters, you want to stack as much elemental defense as you can. Next status element, Silence. This is shown by X icon. A random ability in your character's kit will be unusable for a certain amount of turns. Currently, Silence is not able to be inflicted onto enemies. I don't see it ever being implemented, but we'll see. Our next status element is Paralysis. This symbol is 2 squiggly lines. This is a 50% chance of not being able to act, although sometimes I do feel as if it's lower, and this applies to enemies and travelers. Next we have Terror. Travelers inflicted with this will have a sad looking person icon. This prevents them from boosting and gaining BP at the start of each turn. This however cannot be applied to enemies. Onto our next status element, Weakness. This looks like an upside down staff, and this doubles SP usage for ability. And then finally we have Sleep, the best status element in the game. This incapacitates the user or the enemy for a certain turn, and like most RPG games with the status effect, when attacked, the target awakens. We've seen this over and over with many Final Fantasy titles. Many of us are inclined to not attack an enemy while they're sleeping and use that turn to either heal or buff up. Now you might think it's the same for OCTOPATH Traveler cotc, but it isn't. You see, when an enemy is slept, and in this situation, we'll assume the enemy is slept for 3 turns. The first turn is procced when it lands, so you have exactly 2 turns of sleep after him. On turn 2, you want to buff up or heal, and on the final turn, you want to start breaking shields instead of healing or buffing. Now you might think, why would I do that, and wake up the enemy when their act is next in the turn order? Well, that's because OCTOPATH cotc functions differently, that when you wake up an enemy from sleep, it eliminates their entire act in the turn order, as you can see demonstrated here. So how is it that we can fully take advantage of this? This essentially is a free entire turn, but being able to shave as many shields as we can without any attacks incoming. And on the next turn, the enemy doesn't function as if they were broken. As we know, when an enemy comes back from a broken status, their turn or turns automatically go first. Using this simple concept, you can apply this to a majority of the bosses and enemies in this game, except of course the Arena Cup bosses. If you're new to the game, you'll be wanting the characters who can inflict sleep after learning about this. Thankfully, you don't need to pull for any characters right now, as right now only NPCs can inflict sleep. And even on the JP side, there are no characters who can inflict sleep. So come along, I'll show you my 3 favorite NPCs who can inflict sleep. The first NPC is in Flame's Grace. He is to the left of the inn when you spawn. He has a 3-piece combo, as he can lower physical attack by 20% and crit rate, and has moderate chance for sleep for 3 turns. Take note that his sleep chances are a lot lower than the upcoming 2 NPCs. Additionally, you want at least 3 turns of sleep as mentioned before, as once it lands, you only have 2 turns of sleep to play around with. The second NPC is actually in Flame's Grace as well. She's in the middle of the map. She is the lonely old lady. She has a high sleep chance for 3 turns. And then finally, my favorite NPC for landing sleep, and is also able to deal AoE fan damage, is in Victor's Hollow. She is in the right side bottom of the map when you spawn. She is known as the Bewitching Dancer. At the moment, there's no accurate calculations to what percentage sleep these NPCs can land, so we'll have to go off those icons. If you're looking for more useful NPCs, such as a 3-hit bow user or a 3-hit dagger user or more, check out this video I made a while back during the 1.5 version. Here I find all useful allies and a location for all categories from physical attack types to magic. Anyways, I hope this helped you out, and to those who already knew about this, rock on. But like always, I'll see you soon. Take care of yourselves. Let out.